These are the 5 things I would change about the story during the New Phyrexia saga, March of the Machines, to have kind of tied on a lot of loose ends or changed some of the things I didn't like that happened. 1. During the one story, include a chapter featuring Jin Gitaxias and Elish Norn and the mechanization between the two of them to try and actually have control over Phyrexia. And in that story, include Tamio and how the way that they were able to keep the soul, the way they were able to keep the spark of planeswalkers but still complete them is let them have the soul. But the only way they are allowed to do that long term is to centralize the control of Phyrexia instead of on each individual, because the soul could allow the planeswalkers to start taking control of the Phyrexians away from the Praetors. They've centralized that control on Elish Norn, and Caxius is actually, it's on him. He's actually the secret one, but he tells Elish Norn, it's on Elish Norn. And then therefore that preemptively sets up the fact that as soon as they get phased out of the universe, and they're killed, all of the Phyrexians are no longer functioning. Reminder, make sure to follow me on other platforms, because this could all be going away. Thanks. Number 2 is during the one story, it feels like we're missing a chapter focused on Nissa getting completed. We have this setup with Luca getting completed and then Glissa and him chasing after her, but I would like the story of her getting captured brought to Elish Norn, completed in front of her, and Elish Norn also then explaining that now that she has Nissa, she's able to move up the timetable of when Worldbreaker could grow to be big enough to connect now to all of the different universes and start her invasion. This then inherently explains why the strike team failed, is because they brought Nissa, and by allowing Nissa to get completed, they were allowed Elish to move up their timetable earlier than they were able to get to the Worldbreaker tree. This is like inferred to what have happened, but I would like, at least confirmation. And I also think not having Nissa getting completed as a part of the story wasn't great. I want that. Jumping to March of Machines, I would have core characters defeat the Praetors themselves. I know Karn is a core character, but I would rather Elsbeth's Resurrectin have mattered more, and therefore her being the one that at least take down Elish Norn herself, which was pretty inferred and is like a kind of a tie-up of Elish Norn's whole story. And then have Jin Gitaxias taken down by Koth, giving Koth a little bit of more of a big moment for his plane finally succeeding. I would also have a Johnny actually be killed here by Teferi. Teferi brings in, or the Zalfirians in general, take down a Johnny as kind of a revenge for the Teferi Johnny fight that happened back in Dominaria's trailer. My fourth thing being that a Johnny does not survive. I think that one of the completed walkers needed to go, and a Johnny needs, and sorry, Matt and Jen, Johnny was very much the perfect choice for that, and is a character that, like, killing off one of at least the 5 Gatewatch and then heavily mutilating another feels like a good continuation of like having one of the characters that we matter lost. Tamio and Tybalt and Luca are all interesting choices, but Tamio is the only real hero character of those 3 and kind of is a weird one. It feels like a Johnny being the one lost, and also because a Johnny had been completed for so long, like it means that Tamio and Johnny being the 2 characters that were completed first have gone too far to be able to be brought back, versus the other ones that had just been completed like that day basically of the war. I would also then add 2 stories to specifically Aftermath, which was underdeveloped. One of them would take place on Theros, and focusing on Elsbeth, dealing the fact that they now worship her as a god, and also establishing kind of like what the post world looks like. The post Theros without the gods. We're not returning to Theros anytime soon based on the announcements that had, so this was a moment to really focus on that, which had one of the strikingly most major changes that we're not really going to get payoff for in a while, though I'm assuming it's going to be a big feature in the Death Race set, because that's going to take over multiple planes, and we're also seeing Theros at this point. And then the other story is focusing on Jace, but don't focus on Jace. We don't know it's Jace. Like, there is a mysterious, and definitely insinuate it could be the Raven Man or whatever, but focus on that story a story about what happened to him without telling us who it was. That's the hardest one because you don't want to give it away. But I think that beginning the Jace story that's ending now, revealing who it is, I think would have been really interesting, and then gives us all for 2 more stories. I don't think that's too many. But yeah, I think a Johnny needed to die. I think a lot of people's complaints about there not being any stakes if a Johnny dies don't exist as much, especially if the story shows that Jace is like going crazy, is now on his last edge, and dealing with everything. Because I think then that brings more stakes into the story. Yeah. And I think there are stakes. I think I disagree vehemently. That's a whole other thing. Hit that like button if you want me to talk about my thoughts on the story and magic in general and how it relates to comic book storytelling.